a new video and a new deck. Today I'll use the Tarot de Marseille, the Alejandro Jodorowsky restoration. Some would prefer revision. I won't get into a debate on that or a discourse on that right now. Also, you'll see I have my black flame, my trusty black flame for reference if necessary. And I'll ask you to pardon my cough. The Jodorowsky deck actually was among the first that I did a serious study of, and it was the first that I began to see tarot as a whole with, as opposed to 78 pretty pictures divided into two categories, and the larger of those categories divided into four. This I looked at more as a complete 78 part entity, much like our bodies. We don't look at as a collection of trillions of cells. We look at it as not a hand and a foot and a knee and a head. We think of it as a complete body, usually. And so I also think of tarot. So we'll just do, like we have been, a 3-card reading. And let's start. The 3 of Pentacles, the 8 of Wands, and a major arcana, Temperance. Those look nice together, and really, right off the bat, give me a feeling of growth, which shouldn't come as a surprise. A lot of what I see in the cards involves growth, but let's take a look at why. And while we do, I actually do want to just grab the 3 cards that correspond from the Black Flame Tarot, because I already see some things that I think will bear mentioning. Look at that, and in order. So, with the 3 of Pentacles, or as the Black Flame would have it, the pentagrams, we see some evidence of growth right off the bat. The cool thing with the Jodorowsky deck, and maybe next time I'll actually draw the cards ahead of time and have some of the others from the same suit lined up and ready, because he views it as a progression, and not to say that other decks don't, but his, I think, more so than others. Look at the just kind of exponential or explosive growth of that foliage from that single point there, and it has so many colors. It has the receptive blues and the very active reds and the very growth-oriented greens, and just they all work together, just like we need all of those things in some balance in our lives as we progress. Now, the pentagrams, pentacles, refer to the environment, or more appropriately, our interaction with and potential to grow and change our environment. And so we have some abilities growing now. In the ones, the aces, we've got potential. We've got a seed, but it has probably not even left the package yet. It hasn't been watered. It certainly hasn't been planted. By the 2, we've watered it. We've given it some nourishment. But by the 3, it decides to grow. And of course, that it doesn't end there. Growth left unrestrained, unpruned, untempered, unrefined, we call that cancer. And so this doesn't end things. Just because we've been growing and continue to grow doesn't mean we've reached the end. In fact, we still have quite a bit to go. Now, in the Black Flame Tarot, just as a brief comparison, I like that the growth also has been suggested more with a very green color scheme. But look in the background there, and do you see these 3 very strong tree trunks? Keep that in mind, because while growth doesn't end things, we need it to move forward. We can't discount that part of the process. We don't dare rush it. Now, wands, as we see here, have a very creative context. Self-creation. If we've been dealing with our environment, and we think of the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, as below, so above, and then we think of the other couplet, the oft forgotten other couplet, as within, so without, how we affect our environment by virtue of how we change ourselves, and as without, so within. We create a feedback loop, just like as above and so below relate to one another. As within, so without, or outside, affect one another. It does not go just one way. In fact, this really clearly illustrates it with this nice little loopy design and all the intertwined aspects there. And so, it refers to the exchange that we have. And the really cool thing with the tarot, all the suits relate to one another, just like different aspects of our lives relate to one another, right? So the wands and the swords work together. And don't they have a similar shape? Just a different composition, a long, solid, crafted object. Where swords deal with intellect, wands deal with creativity, and those don't have to work out of harmony with one another. So create a feedback loop not only with your environment, but with the different aspects of your own life. Make those things relate together and work with one another toward a common goal or objectives. We arrive at Temperance, who represents transformation, represents change. And this can mean the change that comes from this implied mentality and the work that we do with ourselves and our environment. But it also can mean, look at where she has her eyes. She looks back on these things. It can also mean the change that we have to do within ourselves to take on such a mentality. We don't just change the way we think. Habits prove that. We need instead to observe, experiment, and work on making adjustments so that we can come to some new stage in our life. Interestingly enough, Jodorowsky, in his book, when he called attention to temperance, mentioned this little symbol on the angel's breast, the incomplete circle, which he said represents the whole being. And we have that little triangle cut out. We have 4 little triangles underneath. Those refer to the 4 suits in tarot. We may have a real handle on most of them and need to focus on one. So we insert that, we put that in, we open up that part of the programming and work with that as we refine ourselves. Something else, and I only want to draw attention to this because it happens so rarely in the Jodorowsky Tarot, the color scheme, we do see some violet here. Violet in this rendition of the Tarot de Marseille refers to wisdom, and wisdom comes from applied learning, applied knowledge, which we've gained through this process here. So it all works together. Take a look at your thought processes and see how you can grow them to influence your environment in a way that will come back to influence you positively. It involves a lot of creation, and it starts on the inside. Something I see well illustrated here in what the Black Flame Tarot has chosen to call alchemy. Also a very transformative science. And what I draw my attention to in this case, in this reading, we have some food and some questions. I think in this context that this refers really well to a what you put in, you also get out. If we eat garbage, we'll get crap. If we eat good things, we'll have quality products. Question mark and exclamation mark refer to languages or information, questions and answers. We also feed our minds. Bear that in mind as you consider the quality of the transformation that you want to have take place in your life. Bear that in mind as you determine how you want that to influence the trajectory and progress of your life as well. Set up a plan. Set up goals. Take them in steps. Reevaluate your progress and needs periodically. And always remain in touch both with yourself and with your surroundings. Until next time, have peace, and I look forward to the next time. Oh yes, if you have comments or thoughts, of course, please leave them in the comment section. And if you found this interesting, thought-provoking, helpful, or fun, don't forget to subscribe, share it with others so they can have some fun and insight, and look for updates fairly regularly.